call the regular meeting for the month of September to order, and if you would, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have...
Yes, we have Dr. Chandler Rattler.
Great. Good to have you with us.
Let us pray. God of grace and mercy and love, we give you thanks for this beautiful community in which we all live, for the people, the businesses, the institutions that give it life and direction and purpose. We also give you thanks for those who've taken up the call to lead us, especially during these challenging times when peace and understanding have too often been overwhelmed by division and distrust. And so we pray your blessings particularly on them as they make decisions on our behalf. Grant them the wisdom and the courage to do what is right, to do what is good, to do what is true. Grant them the patience to listen and to hear and to see the needs of every constituent. And most of all, grant them and us with the spirit of community, with the spirit of love, with the spirit of justice, and with a spirit of compassion, that we might all pursue what is good and pleasing to you. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. For those who were not aware, that was Pastor Chandler Ragland, who's the pastor of the Black Mountain United Methodist Church, and thank you for coming and being with us this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. I stay, but got to get back to the kids. So.
Thank you. It hurts our feelings, but we understand. I do not have any announcements for this evening, but to offer condolences and our sorrow on behalf of the council, and I'm sure all our town employees, at the loss of Garrett Presnell, one of our firefighters. And I do have a proclamation I'd like to share and read this evening in honor of Lieutenant Garrett Presnell. Whereas Garrett Presnell served the town of Black Mountain as a firefighter, and the town of Black Mountain desires to recognize and honor his memory for his dedication and diligence while serving the community. Whereas Garrett Presnell also served Old Fort, Pleasant Gardens, and North Cove fire departments, as well as the North Carolina Forestry Service, and was president of the McDowell County Fire and Rescue Association. Whereas Garrett Presnell during his career did assume additional duties to continue to enrich the community through volunteerism efforts, and whereas Garrett Presnell passed away on August the 31st, 2021, and was the husband of Kelsey, father of Cora, and son of Sherry and Charles Presnell. And whereas Garrett Presnell was a friend to all who knew him and will be deeply missed by his family and friends and community, and whereas it is fitting that the town of Black Mountain shows its appreciation when one has rendered such valuable services. Now therefore be it hereby proclaimed by the town council of the town of Black Mountain that Lieutenant Garrett Stewart Presnell is hereby acknowledged as having been a good, loyal, and faithful public servant of the town of Black Mountain, that this proclamation expresses the deep appreciation on behalf of the citizens of the town of Black Mountain for the valuable service which he has provided the town, that this proclamation is hereby presented to Lieutenant Presnell's family, and a copy of the same shall be placed within the records of the town of Black Mountain. Sign this. And if we would, let's just take a moment and of silence in honor of Lieutenant Presnell, and also to think of his, pray for those he left behind, his family, his mother, father, wife, and also his brother, who's a fireman for the town of Marion. Thank you. Citizen comments. Peter Frazier. And if you would, Mr. Frazier, just repeat your name, address, and then you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Peter Fraser. I'm going to read from my prepared notes here to fit it into the 3 minutes.
Your address, Mr. Frazier?
Pardon? Oh, the address, yes. I live at 304 Genesis Circle, apartment number 4.
Great, thank you.
And I'm addressing the Town Board of Black Mountain. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Fraser. I've been living in town for 7 years. In all my time as a Black Mountain citizen, vehicle noise has been a serious quality of life issue, and it has gotten steadily worse. These days, we are subjected to numerous private vehicles emitting fearsome and gratuitous noise, and this occurs regularly throughout any given day. Often the offending vehicles can be plainly heard halfway across town. Why are we putting up with this assault on our health and sensibilities? We have a vehicle noise ordinance dating from 1986. My request is that we implement enforcement of this ordinance to be phased in with appropriate warnings over a suitable time cushion. Town police should be tasked with enforcing noise abatement just as they are tasked with enforcing speed limits. If for whatever reasons this enforcement is deemed untenable, then I suggest that the ordinance from 1986 be repealed. That way we make it clear that we are just not going to do anything about noise pollution, and so to hell with it. I suspect that money is a major reason why the 35-year-old ordinance languishes. Business owners in town, particularly restaurant and bar proprietors, are undoubtedly sensitive about money generated for the local economy by the minority who love their loud vehicles. Having spent most of my working life self-employed, I sympathize. No one is enthusiastic about laws they see as likely to diminish their income. But on this score, I propose here an alternative view. Highway trucks at long last soon will be rerouted away from the center of town. And if we were to really get serious about general noise pollution, we could cultivate a reputation in our area of being quiet town. There may be many people all over the surrounding territory who would be delighted to do Sunday lunch and a few beers and some shopping in Black Mountain, where they could enjoy their afternoon in peace. We have a cute little town here, and we might do well for everybody by enhancing Black Mountain's congenial ambiance.
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Frazier.
thank you. I have this written up as a letter. If
So you could just hand it
if
to the
that's
town clerk.
enterable into the town records,
That'll be
let's do that.
We'll put it in the minutes. Thank you. You can just leave it right there, that'll be fine. Thank you. All right, we have a report from Jessica Trotman, our planning director. This is your annual report.
Actually, this would be it's 2 years' worth, actually. We didn't do any last year because of COVID.
How about that?
So we're catching up a little
I
bit.
feel like we hear from Jessica so often.
Usually every month.
This is my only agenda item. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I promise I'm going to keep it brief. You get monthly reports from me, so we won't get too down in the weeds. So first off the top, we have a couple of staffing updates, and I realize you haven't been able to interact with staff in quite the same way as you may have been used to. But last year we hired Jake Hare, who came to us from the coast. He's App State grad. He's a planner one. He's doing subdivision administration and code enforcement. Jennifer Tipton shifted to a new role as a senior admin. And then Dan retired. And then Charlie Russell came in as building inspector in addition to his fire inspector roles. And as of yesterday, we have hired a stormwater technician who will be joining us from the city of Portland. She will be here in mid to late October as she arranges that trek across the country. So we were very excited for Ann to join us. I'm going to brag on staff a little bit. Jennifer finished her bachelor's degree in business administration. I decided, maybe against my better judgment, to go back to graduate school and work on my doctorate in public health. Jake is working on his CZO at UNC SOG, and hopefully that'll be wrapped up by the end of the fall. And we are all trying to sign up for a variety of conferences and whatnot that are all virtual this fall. I did one class last year. Everybody sort of scrambled to find something to do to keep us on our toes in a safe way. We've also had some pretty big departmental improvements over this period of time, shifting our permitting software to an online portal. That was scheduled to happen before COVID happened, but we expedited that process with the quickness to have a continuity of service to the public. We've significantly increased our service to the public using this format, using online submissions for plans, and you can pay and apply for permits in that application. You can also receive updates on inspections and permit status in real time. We've updated and streamlined our workflow, and we have reduced our administrative burden by 2/3 through that process. We've also worked really hard to increase our trust and communication with citizens and contractors by listening to concerns and taking corrective action whenever possible. This has ranged from issuing refunds when things were accidentally overcharged to more proactive stances on zoning enforcement and increasing standards of stormwater controls. These are our current projects. At a high level, we have multiple bike and ped projects in the works. We have the 9th Street Bridge replacement, repairing store damage to Swananoa River restoration project. We're still recovering from that. Repair to storm damage to the Black Creek Greenway. Working on community education and outreach related to affordable housing. Implementing our MPDS permit with first-year requirements. That is 36 action items required.
What is the NPDES?
That is our national discharge permit for the MS4 system. And the permit requirements are set out by permit year, and year one has 36 items. We have an SCM retrofit that will be starting in January at Terry State's parking lot. We are also launching our stormwater utility. The bills are being printed as we speak. We'll go into revenue collection and administration of those funds as they come in.
What is it? Sorry.
You're fine.
The acronyms.
There are a lot of them.
SCM.
Stormwater control measures.
Stormwater
Control measures. We also have corrective actions for the I-40 underpass, and we have the Unified Development Ordinance, which has been awarded to Kindred Craig Collaborative, which we were very excited to work with them on this project. The Stormwater Master Plan, the RFP was released. We received only one submission, so we have extended that period to see if we can get a few more submissions. Developing a sustainability plan and increasing affordable housing code program. So we're going to hit some highlights. We've had an increase in traditional planning over the last few years, and these tools are to help shape future decision-making, decisions that come in before council and other of the appointed bodies, and help inform your budget process. These have been a really great opportunity for us to engage with the public, and we've certainly had to be creative in how we go about that right now. And some of the outcomes of the traditional planning include Elevate Black Mountain, a future land use map, 160D updates, the Greenway Master Plan, parking and circulation study, and the Blue Ridge Road Small Area Plan. Stormwater, never a dull moment. So many words, so little font. We've increased our stormwater permitting regulations, and they are some of the most stringent in the state. We've had a rain barrel workshop with over 30 participants. We did a residential riparian management workshop. Many parcels in town are crisscrossed by creeks and the river. And the Water's Edge workshop was to help people understand how to protect and maintain the riparian buffers to reduce erosion issues. We've also had workshop to train residents and landscape professionals on how to install rain gardens, and they could participate at 2 different levels. You could just learn how to do one in your yard, or you could get certified in actually installing those by NC State's extension program.
How many attendees did you have at that workshop?
At that, the one for the how to install the rain garden was over 20. We also shifted to an online platform for managing stormwater sites and permitting. That's still a transition process, but so far so good. We completed our annual reporting for this permit cycle. We drafted the first stormwater management plan for the town that goes to public comment at the state level. hopefully it's there today, but I haven't checked to see if they actually posted it. And at the end of that 30-day period, it becomes effective. We're partnering with Land of Sky for that retrofit I mentioned earlier. We also had a live stakes workshop and giveaway during COVID, and we had to reopen it twice because we had so many people who were interested in participating. And then, of course, we all suffered through the stormwater utility presentation where we did the rate analysis, the rationale, the structure, admin, and budget with estimated revenue between $350,000 and $400,000.
Jessica, what, the grant money, I assume it's grant money. Did that come through Land of Sky?
I'll bring a slide up for that in a minute, but the money is from DWQ. The applicant was actually Land of Sky, and we are partner too. So they are adminning that project. We've also worked on water quality improvements in the environment. We completed the phase 2 of stream restoration on Tomahawk Branch at the golf course. That project was completed August of last year, then blown out by a 200-year storm, then repaired, and it actually held up pretty well in this last one, just only a little bit of damage. So we have started to close out on that grant. The Swannanoa River restoration funding was put together through Duke Energy, NC, DWQ, and Pigeon River, and in partnership with Montreat College. We were finished with that project for 2 weeks, not even that. And then Tropical Storm Fred literally washed away $100,000 worth of work. We're working with FEMA and DWQ about a repair budget and schedule. It will cost approximately $100,000 to put it back the way it was. It'll cost about $130,000 to make it more resilient. Is that it? Okay. Affordable housing, you recently approved a resolution in support of affordable housing, so we're giving staff some direction and legs to pursue this. We have a workshop this Thursday with the development and real estate community that we've invited to meet with the Asheville Community Land Trust about how they work, what their model is, and how you can be involved with affordable housing projects at market rate, and try to do some myth busting around everything having to be based on tax credit programs. The Land Trust is particularly interesting because they are an excellent fit for infill development, which Black Mountain is well suited for. And this was supposed to be in person at Lakeview, but we have moved that online. I expect that will probably reduce a little bit of our participation, but we know that this is just getting the ball rolling. We have additional workshops and presentations in the works from UNCSOG, as well as an affordable housing presentation that is a project in Marion that the Dogwood Trust and a variety of other stakeholders are involved in. We're also working on dusting off our minimum housing code and make programmatic improvements. The code itself is fine, but increasing the opportunity and understanding of reporting concerns around minimum housing to ensure we are maintaining our existing household stock. In matters of transportation, we are reviewing traffic pattern recommendations and concerns for opportunities for improvement around Ridgeway, Sutton, and Richardson. We are also preparing to replace the 9th Street Bridge. This is funded by the French Broad River MPO. It's a $680,000 project. NCDOT will be admitting this project on the town's behalf. The town will be working very closely with them, but they will be taking the lead on the administration. We also have 2 bicycle projects from the bike plan that we are evaluating, and the alternatives from the Riverwalk Greenway are being scoped, and the project planning is underway. We recently received some budget numbers to look at, and that's in getting new contracts in place. It's tedious. We're also coordinating bike and ped improvements with the Blue Ridge Road I-40 interchange to align with the Blue Ridge Road small area plan. I will tell you that I thought a lot of these projects were going to hit the ground running. They are not. No one will bid these projects. No one will bid these projects. And that's just where we are right now. We are trying very hard, but we cannot get. The only bids I've received are on what it would cost to pave Riverwalk existing trail for future budget information, but no current projects have been bid yet.
Because they're too small?
Well, I have set them out as a suite of projects to try to be more enticed. I think that everyone is just so covered up that they're just not particularly interested. Because in the grand scheme of things, they are small projects compared to other things that they might be working with. I did recently meet with Buncombe County Schools head of maintenance, and he has some contacts, and he's going to take our standard and details for sidewalks and see if he can throw a little weight behind getting some responses. So we're trying.
Like had improvements. I'm a little confused because of with the I-40 exchange. I was
Yep.
thinking that with the exchange, that just was part of the project.
It
the
is.
Exchange project.
It is, but that they want to make sure what they're putting in lines up with the preferred typologies for the rest of the corridor. So when the Blue Ridge Road Small Area Plan had preferences for a multimodal path and sidewalk on different sides, we wanted to make sure that those came through the interchange in the same manner that we expect them to be continued when Blue Ridge Road itself is improved. So they're consistent.
But I guess I'm still confused about the contracts because
There's no contract, that's not affected by this, the challenges on getting bids and whatnot, that's just DOT.
yeah, that's a DOT.
That's a
issue.
that's
And I
right.
was a little confused about how that came in. It's not, we're not looking for bids or anything.
No,
like that.
we've been involved in just making sure that their plans line up with our plans.
Right.
Yep, everything else is, anything related to a sidewalk, a bike, sharrows, paving, asphalt, concrete, not getting bids on that.
Can you share what the two bicycle projects are that you're currently developing? Are those the two? The ones-
No, we're looking at the Bike Boulevard from Flat Creek to Tomahawk, to Lake Tomahawk. And the other is potentially doing the walking loop around Craigmont Park. So these are the 3 active grants we currently have. We have the federal funding for 5547, which is formerly Riverwalk, those 2 sections being bifurcated, our new favorite word for this project, that has the In the Oak section and the other section involving the intersection to Black Mountain Avenue. We have the original $77,000 for the Swanano River project. That grant is open, and if we need repair money from the state, we will actually amend that request. So they've told us not to close it out right now. And then it's Land of Sky adminning and DWQ funding the install of the stormwater control measure at the parking lot from Terry Estates. And these are the grants we've closed out sort of some point, either the last time this update was given or shortly thereafter. I'm including the Swanano River PE money for the project from Pigeon River, the circulation and parking study downtown, the Phase 2 Tomahawk, and the Duke Energy construction money. The department has also done the Title VI program. This is a non-discrimination program that is actually for the whole town. And you all had a resolution and policy and plan that you've adopted. I've done annual reporting for 20 and 21, and we have not had any complaints filed. We actually had the League of Municipalities reach out for a copy of our plan because they were using it to help some other folks get their programs on the ground. And then we have lots of numbers. So minor, major, and exempt subdivisions, you can see that we do have an uptick in major subdivisions. Minors have been a little consistent over the last few years. Exempt subdivisions, we are tracking those out as their own animal now. They probably contribute to some of the higher numbers of minor subdivisions in the past.
Jessica, what's an exempt subdivision?
Ron, help me think the list of things. The exempt does not create more than 2 or 3 lots.
There's a string that, the way that's defined is the definition of subdivision under the statute says these divisions of property are not subdivisions. Bill can probably recite them as fast as I can. But a division of a parcel of 2 acres or less into 3 lots or less, it doesn't create any new streets. Recombination of existing lots into different configuration. Divide the property into tracts of 10 acres or more. Those are exempt subdivisions.
So they still create new lots, but they have they're just exempt from additional review. They tend to have lesser impact. Rezoning applications, those look tall, but if you look to our scale on the left, you see that there were 4 in the last fiscal year. The number of text amendments, we have done a lot of text amendments, and we have a couple of more that are going to percolate through, but only a couple, and then the breaks are going on as we go into the UDO. Any text amendment that occurs during that process will be some sort of really big issue that we need to address.
Say that last sentence again. You're gonna put the brakes on as we go into what?
Our UDO, our Unified Development
We
Ordinance.
need less initials and more whole words.
Yeah, the Unified Development Ordinance, we will not be bringing forward text amendments because it would be creating a moving target. We will be focusing on, it's going to be a 2-year process. These are the variance requests that went to ZBA. These are generally requests for setback variances, and often from the settings in the neighborhood. And these were appeals that were heard by ZBA. Did not have any last year. These are number of parcels created from 2011. Last year we had 68 parcels created. You can see that they've been ticking up and pretty consistent in the last few years.
Do you know why there was such a massive jump between the year with only 16 and 84, and then why it's kind of...
I would have to look. There was probably a major subdivision or development that created a lot of those lots. If you look at things that are like Sweet Birch or a Tudor Croft, I mean, in these neighborhoods that come in and they submit a plat with 10 lots on it at a time or 20 lots at a time, it will really see those numbers inflated. Our annexations we're tracking, we had 2 of those last year. Oh, and that's also, and your annexations are also reflected in the additional parcels. Stormwater permits, we increased the standards and we decreased the thresholds that requires a post-construction stormwater permit. So that accounts for some of the jump you see in that, and it's right in the pocket of where we expected that trend to go. There was some concern that everybody would be suddenly subject to a very stringent and costly permit, but we expected to see 4 to 6 more a year than average, and that's played out. This is revenue associated with storm water permits. And then we have building permits. Residential permits include new construction, but also renovations and additions. Same thing for the commercial permits. Trade permits are standalone things where it's like if you needed a water heater or some electrical work only done, those would fall under a trade. I will say that we are working to code our data more granularly so that you can see new construction as its own data point in the future. But you can see we've been very busy. Things have not slowed down in our department for a minute. Building permit fees last fiscal year, we had over $350,000. That was not quite $100,000 more revenue than the year over. And permit evaluations, you can see that's broken up by single-family permits and also commercial permits. These are reported to us by the county for tax purposes. And in the last fiscal year, more than $35 million were added to that taxable base. Building inspections. Last year we had over 3,000 building inspections, which is up a hair. These last several years have been pretty consistent. And when I compare these to other towns, these are not unusually high numbers. When I look at those, I think, oh my God. But they are pretty much what you would expect to see. Zoning code enforcement, our data here is not, is missing a few things, only because we had some changeover in staff and had a little learning curve on taking data for code enforcement that is proactive. We do proactive code enforcement once or twice a week. Next year, these are the goals I've set out for our department, including working on that UDO, getting it aligned with our comprehensive plan, integrating our land use data on the county's website. Man, I can't tell you how excited I would be if that happened. Developing a business registration program and local economic investment strategies, floodplain administration that will be taken on by our new stormwater technician, develop the stormwater utility and its associated activities, implementing our new stormwater management plan and permit, complete a benchmarking process, which I'll talk about in just a second, managing all of these projects. We're going to be applying for some small grants to help fund some of our bike and ped implementation. These would be no match small private grants. We will be completing our stormwater master plan update. We will formalize and increase affordable housing efforts, and we will continue to review long-term project planning and funding options. Benchmarking is something that I think is overdue in our department, something I know that Josh has been interested in seeing happen. We're evaluating 22 metrics. First, we're going to see what data we have, what data we can get, and what data is just going to be impossible to get. And this will help inform goals for the department in the future related to service delivery to the community and overall data collection that is specific to the department. I work very closely with all the other departments in the town, and I think that I'm very fortunate to have such a strong group of colleagues. And they're not listed up here, but I would be remiss that I couldn't do anything in my department if it weren't for them. But in addition to them, Land of Sky, the MPO, DOT, Fish and Wildlife, the Army Corps, Monterey College, the Department of Water Resources, Duke Energy, Buncombe County Schools, and the Black Mountain Greenway and Trails Committee are all integral partners to getting anything done. And I'm grateful for their financial support and their time. I talked fast, but we got through
Questions,
it.
board?
I have one.
Yep.
When you mentioned the integration with the Buncombe County GIS.
Yes.
Does that have to happen on their end?
It does,
or your end?
this very end.
Okay. That's, I'm sure that would be exciting, you know, like
It would be.
There was one thing that it may have been in your report, but we budgeted for this firm to help us with a study of our after 160D and all the changes, and we just said we're going to have somebody come in and do a study of.
I think that's probably the UDO,
Yeah.
your
But the
Unified Development Ordinance. is what
And
you-
it's an outside firm. that's
It
doing
is.
It will be.
That's it. It's like about $35,000 or $40,000 or $75,000.
This one's about 100, and we're breaking it up into two sections.
2 years,
to
2
2
years, over 2 years. Yeah, that's the UDO.
That is.
Right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Jessica, I think you mentioned this. If we need to, or obviously we need to fix the Flat Creek issues in Veterans Park, do you think that we'll be able to get additional grant funding for that, or is that something
We're going to wait. We're waiting for guidance from FEMA on what they will pay for. There are certain things that they are out of scope that they may not come through on. When we find that out, the state has said that they would be supportive of providing the 50% like they do for other grants for the repair at the Swannanoa River location. I guess they can't promise it, but they have been supportive in that process. They came out and did a site visit. They were just as upset as we were. So I guess one of those will shake out, but we're just not sure. We can't mix them though. So FEMA money cannot go as match towards state, or it's one or the other.
Yeah. We had received word sometime back that there, at the state level, that there was, money available, and they were looking for projects. They weren't stormwater projects at that time. They were water projects. But, you still hear the same rumors that there's money, just every kind of more than they've had in the past.
Well, they
trying
definitely-
to figure out what to do with it, really.
Yeah, they definitely have money in the budget for us to ask for.
Yeah.
And I think that I would be shocked if they did not provide that 50% match. But that said, it's still 50%. And originally with that project, we were able to match private dollars, but I don't have those private dollars in the repair.
We'll stay after it.
Yep.
Great. Anybody else?
Well, thanks for pulling all that together. That was a ton of information, and it was very interesting and it was very fast, so I'm wondering if there's some way that can that be shared with us or put on the website or something so that I can peruse it later?
Yeah, we'll absolutely send you the PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Yep.
And for my benefit, maybe the public too, I was just wondering if you could explain a little more about how our comprehensive plan fits into your work. Like, on a day-to-day basis, how does that come into play as you're doing your job?
The comprehensive plan really informs all of our projects. You know, it gives us rationale and justification for what we engage in. It does not necessarily give you a work list. That's not really the idea so much. But it can highlight priorities for the community. So like, say, you know, affordable housing is an expressed priority of the community in the comprehensive plan. So I come to you all and say, all right, well, let's formalize this support for this community request, and that's going to help give me direction on things that we can do to work on that moving forward. And so that starts the ball rolling of finding ways that we can start working on that goal. Other things might be, active living opportunities inform helping to choose like IMPED projects that we're going to work on, or participate in Walk America activities. It also, part and parcel, is to inform your development ordinances. So once you have a nice, shiny, comprehensive plan like we have, the next step is to take that and to inform a UDO, a Unified Development Ordinance, that puts it on the ground, that informs how we develop property and manage resources. So now you kind of have, one is a guiding document. It's also for you all. It's how you make decisions, you look at budgets and justify your work and your ideas. And then it will manifest in rules and regulations to help actually put it on the ground. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's important for the public to know, especially those folks that took the time to come to sessions and provide input and so on. I think it's important for them to know that their time was well spent and that it's actually coming into play, that it's not on the shelf.
No.
But it's a living document that gets used a lot, and that, the next time we ask for their input, I don't want them to think, why bother if nothing comes
Well,
of it?
I will say that just because you make a comment does not mean it makes it into the plan.
Oh, yeah. Right. We
I
can't
do think that is a misconception. Public comment, we have to vet it for validity. Is it a best practice? Does it actually achieve the goal? Is it legal to do? Does it have broad support? Can we afford it? Can we staff it? And you can have great ideas, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actionable.
I think that's an excellent point. Yeah, that's really good. But I did want the public to know that we're all looking at this document. I have a printed copy because I'm that kind of person. I need printed documents, but I appreciate you helping me understand a little better about that.
Absolutely.
Great. Anyone else, council? Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, Josh?
All right, your consent agenda consists of A through F, 5A being adoption of minutes. This would be the minutes of the August 9th, 2021 regular session meeting, August 9th, 2021 closed session meeting, and August 5th, 2021 agenda meeting. Item 5B is a revision to the town's purchasing policy. What we're doing here is adding the ability for department heads to stamp bills, essentially noting that they are pre-audit approved, and we're also going to be increasing our purchase order limits from $500 to $1,000. Item 5C is a resolution R-21-20 in support of North Carolina Department of Transportation to administer the 9th Street Bridge replacement project. And what this will do will give NCDOT, they'll be tasked with administering the grant funds, which takes quite a bit of heavy lifting off of staff. 5D is the 9th Street Bridge Replacement Capital Project Fund Ordinance. This is set up the Capital Project Fund. We know this is going to span multiple budget years. The total amount, as Jessica alluded to, is $680,000. The town's responsibility will be 20% of that, and I think it's around $136,000 for that 20% portion. Item 5E is utility billing policy and procedures. This is something we've had in place for a while, but we've cleaned it up and made it easily readable, and I think the public and staff can now understand it a little bit better. But this will be available for folks to take a look at, be on our website if they need it, and it really just goes into some details about our procedures as far as late fees go, or cutoffs, deposit requirements, things of that nature. And then 5F is the annexation ordinance O-20-20, and it's amendment, and we are correcting some language in the ordinance. Is that correct, Attorney Sneed?
Well, you call it correcting.
Or adding?
We're conforming it to what the Secretary of State would like to see, even though the Secretary of State says they can't require it.
That'll be your consent agenda.
All right, any questions for Josh or Ron on the consent agenda? And if there are none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent items A through F as presented.
So moved.
Very good. Any other discussion? Not. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Great, thank you. And do we have any citizen comments? We have no unfinished business on the agenda for this evening. We do have a couple of items of new business, American Rescue Plan Services Contract and Veterans Park easement. Does any member of the public wish to make comment about either one of those items? Hearing none, then Josh, we would move on to our new business, American Rescue Plan Professional Services Contract.
So this is a contract with our local council of government, Land of Sky Regional Council, in order to provide professional services to administer the funds solely for the waterline project on Highway 70. We are thinking that's going to be around $500,000. Of course, we haven't got into the bids or anything. It may be a little more, a little less. But Land of Sky is going to be able to provide that kind of that hands-on touch where staff gets pulled in many different directions. Land of Sky can focus solely on that. We did contract with Land of Sky a few years ago as we went through our Golden Leaf and Economic Development Administration grants, and they did a great job for us. So we would like for them to do that again. They charge 10% of the contract cost, so we're thinking right now that'll be around $50,000 to do that. And like I said, this will be for the Highway 70 water line, and hopefully we'll get going on that as soon as we can.
Any questions for Josh on the services contract with Land of Sky? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the contract for professional services.
So moved.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Great, thank you. And Josh, the Veterans Park easement.
So item 8B, a sewer line easement for Veterans Park bathrooms. This is something that came out of our Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant we received about 3 years ago. We're trying to finish that up now, and we've in the original application there was a request for year-round bathrooms at Veterans Park. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was around $80,000 for those bathrooms. Is that right, Josh? Close to it. And we have no way to get to sewer currently where it sits. We did try to go through and get a. Sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought tonight. I apologize. Perk test. Yes, sorry. Perk test for a septic system, and it would not perk. The county came out and did their work, and it would not perk. We also looked at the potential for a vaulted toilet, and I don't think none of the staff is a big fan of a vaulted toilet that has to be pumped out regularly. So the only other option would be an easement to get to the sewer line on Blue Ridge Road. Attorney Sneed and myself have talked to the gentleman that owns the little strip mall there at the end of Veterans Park Drive and Blue Ridge Road over the past few months, and have tried to negotiate with him, and really his bottom line has been, I want $9,000 for this easement, and he hasn't really budged much from our pressure.
And you're almost afraid to say something for fear it'll go up.
And so the issue with this is, if we don't get access to the sewer line, we're not going to be able to do these bathrooms, and we're coming to the end of that grant cycle, so we need to get an extension.
And remind the board, the council, and the public how much
Sure. So I looked today,
investment thus far?
So I've looked today, the investment thus far is around $200,000 in this park project. We've done the playground over there, and we've also done the parking lot over there, and we did the little picnic pavilion over there as well. So now the last phase would be the bathrooms.
Any questions for Josh on the easement? And hearing none, then I'd entertain a motion to, this suggested motion is to approve as presented, but to instruct the town manager and town attorney to proceed with the purchase of that easement in an amount of $9,000.
Can we talk a little bit about the ramifications there? I mean, does this set a precedent in the future that other landowners are going to?
Well, I mean, it's a
well-
decision we have to make, but I
We pay
think
for
that,
it's not something that we don't do. We
Oh.
paid for easements in the past for certain things, and that is common.
Historically, we've had the good fortune of having lots of citizens who would give the easements where needed. We put in all the annexation sewer lines without buying a single easement. But the law is, we've got this amendment to the Constitution says there'll be no taking by the government without adequate compensation. We could condemn that easement. We don't know what the answer would be on what we would pay. It would take time, but this is not setting any kind of new precedent. This is something that's gone on forever. Since 1789, I think the Constitution was adopted.
I think the compelling reason to move forward is the investment we already have in the project. So, take them one at a time, I think. Counsel?
What can you tell us about the bathrooms? How large was the bathroom?
So, yeah, I don't think they're anything real extravagant. It would be, a men's and a ladies' bathroom and multiple facilities inside, multiple commodes and stuff inside the bathrooms, but I don't have any kind of design to show you.
Yeah. Do you know what part of the park?
I think the design of it at the office.
Okay. We can email you the design. I think the original plan was to put it somewhere close to where the pavilion and playground are
Yeah, it would be
now.
off the side of that parking lot, kind of in front of the pavilions. When you pull in, you have the bathrooms, the pavilion, the playground.
Great.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I would make the motion to approve this request in the amount of $9,000 for this easement.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Thank you. So we have, Mr. Sneed, do you have anything else to add this evening?
No, I keep waiting for the legislature to make a mess of things for us, but those bills keep laying on the table. I'll check on them again before next month's meeting.
All right, Josh, do you have anything to add?
Just a couple things. One is a question, but I'll start with the statement first. Doug had mentioned or asked about some of the FEMA money. At this point, we got all our information into FEMA. We had to calculate all our man hours, our equipment hours, all that information, and get that back to them. And you all heard, I guess, as of last week, the president has declared, federal disaster here, so we're able to we can get access to that money now. Speaking with a gentleman from the state, he said we would wait on our applicant briefing would be the next step, and that would probably be the end of this month or early October to figure out what our next steps are on getting those funds. As Jessica mentioned, some of the stuff may not be funded. The restoration work at Veterans Park is one that may not be funded. They'll just have to get back to us. The golf course bridge shouldn't be an issue, and neither should the greenway at this point. But the actual stream restoration work may not be funded, but we'll find out more in the future. Let you know.
So does that mean that the greenway in particular would be closed down until?
Well, we have our barricades up now, and I'm sure folks are still using that greenway. I would hate to say that they're not, but at this point, I think we need to have those up because it's not safe, at least walking on the paved portion of that greenway. And the problem is if we go in and fix things now and we don't do it the way that they want it done, they won't reimburse us. That's how that'll work, which is unfortunate, but.
Does that include the cleanup that would need to happen? And I know that greenway is kind of a mess right now.
As far as getting the pavement out of there?
Well, there's a lot of mud and pavement. So.
Yeah, I mean, the cleanup, we could go get the mud off, but as far as the pavement and doing anything different, I wouldn't want to do much with that right now.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my other statement or my question would be, I know we talked about this before this next round of COVID, but the Citizens Academy, so we've not really done a lot with that. I really would like to have one in person.
Yeah.
I don't know the council's feelings. We can do it virtually. I just think it's a lot better in person. That's just, I think all staff would agree with me on that, but.
I want you to see where we are in another month or 6
Okay.
weeks or something.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Right. The only thing I would add is that, as we all know and probably recognized in some way, shape, or form, that Saturday was 20 years after, a very tragic and historic attack on our American soil. And nearly 3,000 people died. And remembering that is a somber occasion, but it also brings with it some encouragement that despite, and it's the way it's always been, people have differing opinions, and our politics can get pretty, can be pretty charged, and they have been throughout our country's history. But we also see that when we need to come together, we do come together. And I think that's a good lesson for us in town. We don't have, fortunately, those sort of issues that we have to deal with, but we do have things that we do need to remember, that we're fellow citizens, and hopefully we have a lot of things in common that we can pull together and work together on, and respect each other's differences. And so it's a good time to reflect on that, and we appreciate the folks who sacrificed so much that day, especially the first responders. So I'm sure many of you joined with me in hearing a lot of those stories again, and some new ones for those impacted at all the locations where the attack took out. There's incredible heroic events that took place, and it's very inspiring. So just wanted to offer that. And with that, I'll turn it over to council. Anybody wish to add anything? Well, hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, council.